Good evening, YouTube. This is Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman here. Hope you happy Friday, guys. I hope you guys have had a good week, a good work week. So I'm over here dropping a video today, as promised. We're gonna go into the long-range models. Before I get into it, before I go any further, not gonna really talk about the weather this weekend. We've already pretty much gone over it. And when I looked at the models recently, not too much has changed. Still expecting snow around the Great Lakes region in the interior Northeast. Very weak small scale system, clipper type system that's going to be going through. There's a lot of interesting stuff in the short range though, so this might turn into a longer video. But without ado, let's get into it. Oops, I made a new window for this on accident. So before I go into any of this, just gonna bring something to people's attention. Anyone that's watching this, even though I don't have too many subs right now or views, if you're in this area right here, in this little apricot peachish colored area, these are what's called fire weather watches. And you need to be careful of these if you're planning on burning or camping or anything of that sort. Just be a little bit more careful. Be a little bit more attentive when it comes to your fires. Basically, what this means is the air is really dry. Relative humidities are low. The dew points are low. And then on top of that, if we have strong winds like what we have over here in these little brown areas that are called wind advisories, those are calling for gusts above 35 miles an hour at times through a given point. That basically means that the danger of a fire developing and then spreading quickly, it's a little bit higher in these areas. Not saying that you necessarily can't burn here, but you got to be a little bit more attentive. Now, if you're in this pink area right here, I don't know if I have any viewers in this area at all yet, but this area right here is a red flag warning. That means that conditions are almost optimal for potential wildfires or just out of control fires in general. You can even see wind advisories here on the eastern side of that. Basically, you do this. Basically, if you're under this area, what you need to do is check with your local authorities on what you can, on what's safe to burn, and you got to be extra attentive here if you're going to burn, if it's okay to even burn. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, one other thing to mention here is winter weather advisories, particularly around the eastern part of West Virginia and around the mountains, trying to sneak its way into Pennsylvania, but I don't think the storm is really going to meet the criteria here. Alright, now that we've gotten that out the way, we can close this out and get into the meat of the video, which will be the long-range forecast. Alright, so I'm going to let you know ahead in advance for future reference. If I'm pulling up this video, it means one of two things. Some kind of pattern change is happening, or some kind of weather's coming. This is the geo potential height and anomaly radar. This is basic, or not radar, but this is a forecast model. This is based off the GFS American model. It's the ensemble mode. So basically, what you need to know here is that this area here in red, this is representing high pressure, warmer air, and more stable weather. This blue area here, whenever you see a swirl around here like this is indicative of low pressure and cooler air. And it's right along this line here is where you usually can expect some kind of weather to be coming in, especially when you see this out ahead of the cold front. As you can see here, this is the result of the last low pressure that caused all the severe weather. There was the warm air out ahead of it, and this is the cold air that came in behind it. We're basically done with severe weather here, as you can see, and then we have the cold air on the backside. So this is what we're looking at. This is the situation we're looking at currently right now. This is going to be the storm system that this is going to be the small northern stream piece of energy that's going to cause a little bit of Great Lakes snow and a little bit of interior Northeast snow. This is really going to be a north of the border kind of storm. But onward we move. So This thing tries to really get its act together throughout Saturday. It's gonna drag a lot of cold air down with it. We can expect like a small scale Arctic blast. We went over that in the last video. The air's gonna make its way south, pretty far south, even into the Appalachian foothills, maybe even as far south as North Georgia. But just as quickly as it comes in, it's on the way out. There was an interesting look that I saw earlier, and we will go over that momentarily, but if you look at how in the higher levels we have this little bit of a slope here in the jet stream, this could lead to something interesting happening around Kentucky and Tennessee. Nothing major, but a very interesting look, especially if you're a weather geek, meteorologist. It's definitely odd. It'll be kind of an anti-front deal, but like I said, we will go into that momentarily. So, move along into Tuesday. We have this area of high pressure, and we have this ridge coming in. And this is important here because this is going to become our warm sector for our next storm system, which you can see here. This storm system is going to be coming in just north of the Baja and into the Sierras. It's going to bring a bunch of unsettled weather here. Rain, snow, wintry precip, especially around the Sierra Mountains, and a little bit to rainy old northeast, Washington and Oregon. So we're going to move this a little bit further forward, and you can see here our warm sectors really made a big push to the north here according to the GFS, and then slowly but surely our little bowling ball storm here is starting to really take shape here. So come Wednesday, this is where we're going to start potentially looking at some severe weather, because look what we have here. We have warm air to the east out ahead of the storm system, and then we got cold air right behind it. It's the collision of these two air masses. It's going to be a flashpoint, I would say probably right about here. It's not a lot that we can go into detail with right now, given the fact that we're over 100 hours out. But I do feel confident that this will bring some unsettled weather to the Midwest and work its way to the east. It really looks like it starts to get its act together on Thursday, and then the cold air lingers behind it, expands, makes a push off to the northeast. And before we know it, it's out of here by next Saturday, April 2nd. So we're going to be ending March like a lion, even though we entered like a lamb. So as we move further and further forward, we get a really big push of cold air that pushes pretty far south. And that's going to cause a lot of people discomfort. So anyone watching this, don't put your jackets away just yet. It doesn't seem like winter wants to fully let go yet on the eastern half of the country. So then shortly after this moves off, and we're about a couple weeks out here, we're about 342 hours in, everything starts to get really wacky here. And that's the end of the forecast model. So, but I know you guys don't really care for looking at that radar quite as much as you would care about looking at this. This is something you're probably a bit more familiar with. It's a precipitation type radar. So we're going to take a look at the GFS. We're going to take a look at the Euro. Maybe we'll take another look at the National Weather Service to see if they've outlined any new risk for early next week, or early to mid next week, I should say. So taking a look at the GFS, and we're going to move forward here. No surprise here. Snowed in the Great Lakes in the interior northeast as this low pressure moves off. Monday we have a little series of low pressures here. We got our snow around the Sierras. Then we watch this develop into what's likely to be our next severe weather system. We get some snow on the backside around Montana. Some of it moderate to heavy. Not a very big storm until late Tuesday. We get a good little bit of we get this piece of energy really starting to develop, really starting to blossom here. We have a pressure of 984 millibars, extremely low for a land cyclone type deal. And then, lo and behold, Tuesday night into Wednesday, that's when we start getting our weather, our severe weather, what looks to be our severe weather threat, looking like a line of thunderstorms. Main threat seems to be damaging winds. Can't rule out tornadoes, but this is so far out that nothing really seems to be hammered down. If I click this right now and get a sounding and try to get a sounding sample, I'm probably not going to get much of anything in regards to clarity as to what the hazard type will be. And there we have it. It's also saying that the dew points and the air temperature are going to be just about on top of each other, all the way up into the highest levels of the atmosphere. So there's just not a lot of clarity right now. That's just what happens when you're looking into the storm far out into further and further out. Just nothing's real clear right now. I don't really think this is going to be anywhere near as significant as this last storm system. But with it being 114 plus hours out, a lot can change. Also take notice of the snow that's forming on the backside of this around areas of the Dakotas, northern Minnesota. You guys are probably going to start out as rain, and then eventually over the day, as the temperatures seem to drop, you're going to end up as snow, and at times moderate to heavy snow. You may even get a little bit of sleet mixed in some freezing rain, so definitely be careful of that. Meanwhile, our severe weather is going to move to the east. Based off of this look on the radar, I'm definitely thinking it's going to be a damaging wind event. And then on the northern end of this, towards the cold sector, which is pretty far north at this point, right on the border, maybe just south of it, you guys might get some wintry weather, mostly freezing rain and sleet, maybe some snow on the backside as this moves further and further forward. It's not going to look like much, and then maybe around the New England region, you guys might get a little bit of wintry weather, and then this moves off. Then we start getting these really odd looks coming in. Once we get closer to 200 hours out, we get what looks like a little area of convection out ahead of this, right in this little boundary between this low pressure here and this high pressure here, bringing some rain showers. And then towards the Gulf Coast, you may get a couple of strong storms, maybe some minor severe weather on the small scale. And then it looks like it wants to try to form a storm system here on April 3rd. Hard to say what happens with this. And this is so far out, you just can't really tell what's going on. Low forms here on the 4th. Looks like we might get some severe weather. And then this is a really interesting look here. We tend to be on a pretty big cool down, just as those ensembles were showing us around this time. And look at this right here. We have an area of what looks to be heavy snow trying to show itself here on the GFS, and it makes it all the way to the Appalachian foothills. Right here, this line, I've mentioned it before on this channel. This is the 540 line, or really you might as well just call it the 32-degree line. Anything usually north of this line will tend to freeze. Whether it makes it to the ground is another thing all in and of itself. Sorry, I'm fumbling my words here, but you can see how far south this 540 line is. The moisture is not too far away from it, so this is an interesting look, but we're 234 hours out, so not much I can take from this right now. Definitely going to be something that I'm going to be watching over time, and definitely something I'll keep you posted on. That's why I really don't like showing this forecast, going out this far in forecast models, because literally this could change within the next 6 hours. So at times it can almost be a waste, but since things are quiet and there is stuff expected, since we are expecting significant weather ahead, I figure I may as well show everything. So we watched this storm move through the northern tier of North Carolina and into Virginia, looking like it tries to form heavy snow based off the GFS. And then furthermore, we can see that this low is really strengthened. We're sitting at 986 millibars according to the GFS on the 5th of April. And then this moves offshore, kind of stiffs everybody in the northeast, which at this point I don't think anyone's really going to be complaining about, because I'm pretty sure they're tired of snow. And then our next flare is supposed to come in around the 6th. I've been seeing stuff about this storm for the last couple of days, but this is my first real good look at it. Oops, wrong button. Yeah, this is my first real good look at it. This again looks like it tries to form a little bit of severe weather, but at this point we're 300 hours out. But this looks like, I can't even tell you what this threat will be at this point, but see another Great Lakes event. Maybe the snow stretches a little bit further off to the west, putting the Dakotas, Minnesota, maybe Minneapolis, the UP of Michigan and northern Wisconsin into play. Move this further and further forward. Just gives it a bunch of weird looks, but looking like some snow for North Central Plains and into the Ohio Valley. Tries to do a little something for the Northeast here by the 10th of April, and then we're pretty much at the end of our model run at that. And it ends with a really, really peculiar look. Our 540 line has dropped all the way to Florida on the 10th, which I think is a little bit bullish, but it's definitely something worth watching. And that's the end of the GFS model run. We'll take one look at the Euro here. We can't look as far out on that. We only go to 240 hours. GFS goes to 384, and we just went through all of it. And we'll see. And what we're trying to look for here is if these two models are in agreement. Then we can start to take some of the longer range stuff a little bit more seriously. In the short range, for the most part, I think they're going to be in line with one another. But into the long range is always going to be the question. Interestingly enough, though, in the short range, I do notice that I see a little bit more scattered snow, and it also kind of makes its way towards eastern Kentucky. Doesn't look like much, not too much difference. Deer northeast gets a little bit of snow, but it looks like, if anything, it's going to be a little bit lighter in nature. So, alright, so we have our low on, so here's our low pressure. This is going to be our next troublemaker here, Tuesday. And watch this go forward. And it fires off the severe weather at about the same time. Has an interesting little look to it. Definitely still looking like some damaging straight line winds are going to be the main threat based off of this look. Wait, but hang on a minute here. I do see small little kidney beans here, which is really interesting. That could be entailing some embedded supercells within this line of storms, which would possibly increase the tornado threat. Like I said, we're so far out though, it's hard to tell. And I see this little interesting look here. It's a comma head, kind of favors some potential rotation, wind shear, maybe some more tornadic activity, maybe towards the Gulf states, kind of lends itself to more severe weather, maybe something tornadic. Comes a linear event, more straight line winds, and then as this moves off the coast, comes a little bit more scattered in nature. Still get the snow on the backside for Minneapolis, maybe even Green Bay. Most of Minnesota is going to get snow. It's going to push off to the northeast, and then our next system is going to roll in, bring some more unsettled weather, but it looks like it pushes it further north. Then after that, we're going to reach the end of our model run. Tries to do a little something from the Long Island and New York areas, maybe even New England as well on the 3rd, and then we're sitting at 228 hours out. Use a little glob of snow for New York City once more, and we're at the end of our model run. There's not very much I can go into detail with about by tomorrow. I'll start to be able to get an idea on some things. More different aspects of these models will probably open up by then. But that's all I have for you guys tonight. Wonder how long this video's gone. Hopefully not too long, but we'll see here. We're sitting at 20. Not my worst, not my best, but that's all I got for you guys again. It's been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman. You guys have a good week. You guys have a good night, and I will talk with you again tomorrow.